I think as a child, my faith was generally just doing what was expected of me. I was born in Nigeria, so both my parents are Nigerians, but we grew up in the Middle East, in Jerusalem predominantly. My father worked with the United Nations, and we were quite unique as Africans living in very Arab or Jewish areas. But our schools were very diverse. But then when you got out of the school gates, you kind of realized that actually diversity isn't always the norm. The time my faith took a turning point was when I ended up in the States to do my first degree in business and finance. And incidentally, when I went there, I was presented with a host family and they were Presbyterians, and in addition to that I met a lady from Campus Crusade for Christ, which is now known as Agape, and she basically discipled me for my entire time at university, and she began to question me on what my faith meant to me and begin to think about how I could actually take my faith more seriously and take God more seriously. So there was a stirring up, I suppose you could call it, within me to do something practical that actually reflected my love of Christ and my decision and commitment to follow Jesus. I always thought I would end up serving God overseas, but one thing that has become more and more apparent in my journey with God is that He's calling me to serve a community within a parish context. So I think the distinctive for me in terms of what it means to be a deacon and then a priest is the whole idea of actually being a public representative in terms of what God is doing now in the context that He's placed me in. In my mind, I had thought I would end up being a missionary because I had a huge love for the Muslim world and for the Middle East, and I really had a vision that I would end up being a missionary in Egypt or somewhere somewhere like that. When I completed my time at Radcliffe Bible College, I fell into teaching, funnily enough, and I ended up teaching at an Islamic school in Birmingham for a year, which indeed was a mission field, but in Birmingham, but among the people that I had a passion for. I was attending St. Christopher's Church in Spark Hill, and during a chance occasion, Bishop Sentamu visited the church, and in that I just came across him, shook his hand, and he said, "You are thinking of ordained ministry, aren't you?" And that was the start of the next phase of my journey.
Cathy Mark Okoronkwo to serve in the parish of Streatley.
It's been a part of my heritage, being the minority, but it is important because it makes me realize that I can actually be a role model to show people that, especially young black boys and black women and girls, that they can do what they want to do if God's in it, really.